Over to Mr. Asit Nema, please.
Thank you, Thomas. Before I start the presentation, I'd like to make a few submissions. Obviously, one thing is that many of you have already heard this thing, so this might be a bit of a repetition for you. So please forgive me for that, but I'd like to bring in some additional considerations and try to make it as entertaining and as lively as possible. Second thing is, when you have whenever somebody has a serious medical problem, he goes to an allopath. You don't expect problems to be solved by going to, with all due regards, to homeopathy and Unani and Ayurvedic, all right? So this session is more about allopaths out here, all right? We are the hardcore surgeons, and if the heart surgery is required, you come to the cardiac surgeons, all right? Third thing, I have a plea to all of you, most humbly. Kindly, I'm raising some very critical issues in this presentation. We have been talking since morning about huge investments in the domain, whether it is related to treatment or disposal. So my message in relation to the kind of investment that has gone in, kindly allow me adequate time to submit the whole story and the whole story. I can promise you I'll offer you truth and only truth, but nothing else than truth. All right? Then, I think what I'm going to offer you is inconvenient truth. So kindly bear with me if it is not palatable to many of you who have passion for certain particular solutions and distaste for some other solutions, because I'm offering very objective analysis. There is no vested interest in anything. The only concern is how to get rid of the trash, garbage, and clean up the country, the landscape of the country. Fourth thing is sanitary landfill. Unfortunately, since morning we have been hearing, and in other conferences I hear, landfill is being used indiscriminately. As I tried to say, landfill is a respectable term. Landfill is synonym for sanitary landfill. However, we are seeing time and again people using this as a substitute for open dumps. Kindly recognize that there is a major difference between an open dump and a landfill. If I say landfill, it is implicit, it is sanitary landfill. And I think it is rather late in the day. I greatly admire the patience of all of you. You have been sitting here patiently hearing in search of knowledge. But doctors say that continuous sitting for 45 minutes is not advisable. So as the lady did, I would request all of you to get up and do a little bit of exercise. If you would kindly cooperate with me. Kindly stand up on your places. Okay? Just give me a couple of minutes and I'll make it very interesting. All right? No. Just raise your hands. Okay? Couple of times. 2, 3, and 4. That's how the doctors tell, the physicians say. And one more interesting thing, just give a hearty laugh. Laugh over the waist, okay? Now we come to the real business. Kindly take your seat. Sorry? I don't hear. I'm not able. Absolutely. Yeah, take it easy. Life will go on. So that's how it is. All right. One final submission. There are many interesting terms and words that we use. Like, waste is not a waste. Waste is a misplaced resource. And waste is this, and waste to energy, and waste to... I will try to start from very basic premise. These are all poetic imaginations. All right? These are all poetic imaginations. When you are really facing major problem, you better go to a surgeon and get it treated. And then rest of the thing will come afterwards. We will talk about the song and dance later on, that wherever the waste is a misplaced resource and all. Right now, solve the problem. So my presentation is basically on that. Thank you very much. The title of the presentation is Challenges of Value Addition to Municipal Solid Waste. And the background is, obviously, all of us know in 2000, Supreme Court intervened and brought the rules from basically public health and local environmental quality point of view, because there was serious impact. And now court are directed 40 class 1 cities to clean up their act in 3 years. That was rather ambitious. We are now 10 years down the line or 13 years down the line. Government of India has spent cumulatively under different programs something around 10,000 crores. State funding, private sector funding and all. And we have several treatment plants constructed. However, let us now examine what is the current status. What have we achieved over last 10, 12, 13 years? So my humble questions are that how many class 1 cities are complying with the MSW rules? These are some very hard questions to answer, to reflect upon. How many good treatment plants are operating in the country? Who is tracking improvement in SWM in class 1 cities? Is there any agency which has been given this mandate? Do we have system of called waste audit and waste returns that every municipality should submit? That every day or every month I'm generating so much and this is how I'm getting rid of it. There is no accounting. There is no measurement. How many city officials have been charge sheeted for non-compliance? None. Of course, we have been hearing that because they carry larger than life things, so you can't do anything with them. They are untouchable. And compost, finally. Apparently, compost is given high priority under the scheme of things and the policy, because Mother India apparently needs organic carbon, so to say. However, who is keeping track of the quantities, quality and the usage? These are some very difficult questions. So now I'll take you through a very difficult journey. You see, this slide shows a large number of treatment plants which have been constructed over last 10, 12 or 15 years across the country and across the length and breadth, north, south, east, west. But what you see is that these are 4 or 5 broad categories of composting, biomethanation, mass burn, vermicomposting, refuse derived fuel, etc. And the red ones are the plants which have closed down. Okay, the green ones are apparently working and the gray ones are struggling. You see, one major thing in this, that the mortality rate among treatment plants is pretty high, and that is across the technologies, and also that is across the geography of the country. So that means that there are wide range of issues. They can be systemic issues, there can be policy issues, there can be technological issues. I set out to do a study, case study of about 15 plants across the country in 2006, and I have been I've been kind of advocating on sustainability considerations in treatment and disposal systems for last so many years. And here I am sharing some of the things with you. You know, I put this slide because Vijayawada captures the whole thing. What has been going on in the country. Vijayawada tried to set up a museum of technologies. They set up a compost plant first thing in the whole thing, country, sometime around 98, 99. The picture over there, Excel thing, it has closed down. They have removed everything, lock, stock and barrel. Then this one over there is a biogas plant, which was based on sabji mandi waste, that has closed down. Then the one on the bottom is a waste to energy RDF plant that has closed down. All right. And then now in 2009, when I had an opportunity to visit again, this is what they are doing. In the background, you see the waste to energy RDF plant, but with impunity, they are doing open burning. This is open dump, put on fire. And that's that. So this captures the whole gist of my presentation, that technology will not solve the problem. You can do a lot of investment, but if you don't sustain the plants, they are not going to solve the problem. And as a matter of fact, many cities are experiencing the same thing. Now, the thing is, the first obvious question is that what is the problem? Why these plants are not working? You know, if I got down to the study in detail, and what I found that on one hand you have those kind of factors, political, administrative and contractual issues and promoter capacity, which can undermine sustainability of a treatment plant. And on the other hand, you have these factors. One is plant location. Basically, I will go one by one from some of the important ones. Environmental, collection, transport system, feedstock delivery, quality, plant design. That is fundamentally that I would like to highlight that there are certain technical issues in the technology itself, and one has to take care of it, appropriately design it, then only it will work. What Thomas was highlighting. Then operation and maintenance aspects and market aspects. So as a matter of fact, this is the grouping only, but there are about 50 odd risk factors. And there is no guarantee that one of these risk factors will not exhibit in the first 1 or 2 years of starting a plant and undermine its sustainability. And that is what is happening. When you see that first slide where there is so much of red, because mortality is high because of one of these 50 factors is appearing and showing up its head. So I will not be able to take you through all the 50 risk factors, but I'll try to highlight some of the critical ones. And finally, if you will give me some time to do justice with this thing, because there are huge issues on investment and public health involved in it. So some of the common challenges across all the technologies is that you have quality and quantity. You don't know what is the quality of the garbage. In Holi, it is one, on Diwali, it is another, and in between we get Eid and other festivals. So there is great variation in quality of the garbage, and no pre-sorting system is capable of withstanding this variation. You need to demonstrate that they can do source segregation. Why? Because it is the maid servant. It is not the lady of the house. It is not me or you. Very few people among us in the sector are doing source segregation. It's the maid servant. She is here, gone tomorrow. She doesn't care what is green or brown, what is wet or dry, and she is least concerned about it. Also, look at her education, look at her commitment, look at her concern. Why should she be concerned about it? That's why no wonder no municipality can claim that we have achieved segregation. Diversion of food waste. If you have a compost plant or a biogas plant, municipal worker gets more money if it's sending it the good organic waste to a piggery. Pig farms are better return giving. And inconsistency in the feedstock delivery system I have already spoken about. Then limitation of the processing machinery. High variation in quality and an inability for the screen to separate. Another problem is that my feedstock has very high stones, sand, silt, dust, construction debris, and therefore it is causing high wear and tear of my machinery. So my bearings, my shaft, my screens are getting worn out. Very soon, I find in 3 to 4 years' time, my machine has to be replaced. Whereas in a conventional industrial plant, replacement of an equipment is something like 10 to 12 years. So my operation don't generate so much of revenue that I can afford to do capital investment every 4th year. Then obviously odor emission, there's a huge problem, whether it is compost plant or even RDF plant, because you have to stock the garbage for several days. And if you have plant next door, a lot of eligible bachelors become ineligible. Nobody wants to marry his daughter to a place where garbage plant is located. Property rates go down. So nobody wants to lose money on that. Community gets ostracized. And then obviously you have psychosomatic impact. You are living 24/7 in an order envelope. You develop profound problems of headache, vomiting, and so on. Now I'll come quickly to the financials of both different technologies, so that we can focus only on composting. Compost plant of a 300 metric ton per day facility will cost me about, in 2011 cost, was about 100 million. It's about 10 crore. Nowadays it is about 20 crore. So please bear with me, I have some old numbers. Let's start with 10 crore plant or 100 million. A mass burn plant would cost me about 375 million or close to, let's say, 400 million for the same capacity. A RDF plus energy plant will cost me about 650 million. And a biogas and energy plant will cost me about 1,000 million. Now you see, what am I trying to achieve? I'm only trying to treat the waste so that it becomes innocuous, harmless. I'm not trying to do any great value addition to the raw material that I can afford to go for these kind of technologies and expect as correspondingly or proportionately high value addition to my raw material. It's not like that. See, now compost plant versus AD plus energy, you can make 10 compost plant in the same investment. So why would a Tata or a Birla, if he were to set up a plant, would go for the most expensive option? He would rather go for the least option because my objective is to make it innocuous, to make it harmless, to reduce the volume. Basically because objective of a waste treatment plant is that I have to reduce the volume. And you know, what is the main output of a waste treatment plant? It's basically an intangible. Intangible is destruction of viruses and bacteria, safeguarding of environment, and reduction of volume. And tangibles, whatever they are, compost or biogas or electricity, they are only incidental. Those tangibles cannot be used to formulate the financial model of a treatment facility. So the intangible has to be costed. The intangible has to be paid for. And we are not doing that. We are asking operator to survive only based on the tangibles. Now there are many challenges over there. See, now we'll talk only about composting. You have Thane compost plant which was completely dismantled, like I showed you in Vijayawada, because court said order is a major issue and remove it. So we could not find it when we set out to do the case study. And this is a plant in Trivandrum. You have heard it was recently in news for a variety of reasons. And this has also closed down. Now you see, the focus of a plant or the agencies which were set out to do the plant was only waste to wealth. They did not want to construct sanitary landfill site. They did not want to construct a sanitary landfill site, and all the reject were thrown open. And this is not the objective of a treatment and disposal project. Now, this is KCDC in Bangalore. This is one of the oldest plant which closed down about 3 years back because of order issues. But look at the high wear and tear and corrosion of the equipment. All these things break down and they don't have enough money to replace it. So they continue with such windrows which are as high as a truck, and obviously it causes odor. This is the Vijayawada plant. The issue was on location. What thing came first? Whether the plant came first or the colony, the residents, and the land use planning aspect of it. And therefore these guys are living 24/7 in order envelope. And this girl has developed skin infections, and look at the flies in the house. This is all across the road. And they led to, the pressure from these guys led to closure of the plant, besides of course financial unviability of the whole project. So these are some of the inherent technological, locational, environmental, social risk factors. Now I will focus on the post-production thing. You see, if you are producing compost from mixed municipal solid waste, there are toxins, there are heavy metals in it. Then there are antibiotics, pathogens, and weed seeds into it. Sharps, glass, crockery, needles, they are there. So the farmer is not comfortable in using this for his field application. And he says, I had better use some other thing rather than this. He's not ready to pay price for it. Then you have no low nutrient value, then you have low shelf life, and then you see, you are producing compost 365 days in a year. But compost application on the field is only 3 times in a year before sowing. So the producer is left with very high stock. Inventory is very high and he has to carry the cost. And with low shelf life, there is degeneration in the quality of the compost. So eventually, you left with a humus only. There is no manure, there is no nutrient there. And then finally, for last 10, 12 years, we are hearing the compost sells for only 2,000 rupees per metric ton. Even now also it is the same thing. It is no indexing with the inflation. The diesel rates have gone up, salaries have gone up, but my guy is still producing at the same rate and same quality. So where is the viability of that guy? He's not getting any tipping fee from the municipality. I'm finally coming down to tipping fee. Now, I think we can skip this anaerobic digestion, but I will tell you that anaerobic digestion is far too difficult. Far too difficult. Already I have told you about, from the cost point of view, it is 10 times more expensive than a compost plant. So why would anybody in his, good judgment go for something which is as expensive as that and assume that my return on the investment will be proportionately 10 times higher? Simply not possible, because it's the same quantity and quality of feed stock. I cannot do treatment for the same material with same quality and quantity with X, Y, and Z technologies and assume different returns. It can be at best 5 or 10% plus minus. So let's skip this, but I want to tell you something very important, that if you're burning electricity, if you're burning garbage, or if you're producing biogas, and then whatever electricity that comes out is only 25 to 27%. When you burn petrol, how much goes on your wheel? Only 25%. 50 to 60% goes in your radiator. All right? And the rest are losses and running of the system. So in Europe, or in cold climatic countries, what they do combined heat and power. What is called as also cogeneration. So they will use this 35% make it into hot water and supply into district heating system. And they will charge for it. So they make money out of it. So you have 35 and 25, you are pretty close to about 60. And there, it's very remunerative or viable. But in Indian context, where heat is too much outside as well as inside, it's too difficult to capitalize on the waste heat. So fundamentally, if you don't do that, you are only running at about 25% or even less. I will show you another slide. Now, this is high end of biomethanation in Austria. Okay, I'm not saying that biomethanation will not work. It works. It works in laboratory, it works on pilot, it works on fully controlled, fantastic condition. Look at the hygiene and the cleanliness and the plant upkeep. It is very high. It looks like a pharmaceutical or a food processing industry. And remember those pictures which I showed earlier. And here, this one on the right, the blue one, this is a biofilter. This is for odor control. Look at the footprint of this versus the car over there. This is as big as that. We have to take care if you don't want to make eligible bachelors ineligible. And that costs money in terms of capex and opex. A lot of energy goes into cleaning of the air. But we are not doing that. Now, finally, quickly, this is a large-scale biogas plant, which was in Lucknow, which closed down in 6 months flat, which was constructed at 76 crore rupees. Ambitiously, it was built for 5 megawatt of electricity, whereas this is on the right, a small 5 ton per day, no great ambition on power generation. It was purely from livelihood point of view. It was working for 2, 3, 4 years. It worked. BMC gave some grant also, Bhabha Atomic Research Center. And these workers were the owners, and they were doing very well. But unfortunately, they also faced problem, because when the grant stopped, they could not sustain the operations. All right. So challenges in RDF, I think photographs will show you very well. Very high mortality rate, corrosion, wear and tear, and then there is the biggest problem. Garbage is coming free on my plant if I am an operator. But if calorific value is low, I have to blend it. I have to blend it with rice husk and wood, which is costing me something like 2,000 rupees per metric ton. That was not factored in my financial model in the beginning. So my financial model goes for a 6. Now finally, I think this is when you are composting, a single stage, two-stage process, so my efficiency is about 60%. If it is three-stage process, my efficiency is around 17%. And mass burn, my efficiency is about 22 to 23 or 25%. Because there is a simple rule in our mathematics that efficiency of the system is a product of the individual components. So based on that, I work out that. So composting is offering me good efficiency, but it has its own challenges. Mass burn is offering me pretty good efficiency, but it has its own challenges. They don't sustain on their own. They have to be sustained by giving a robust tipping fee, which is in international market in the range of $100 to $200 per metric ton. Whereas here we are not offering any tipping fee. Instead, in many cases, we are expecting, municipalities expect from the operator some royalty. So reverse is not possible, because taking it to the philosophical level, the bottom line of challenges for all these things is second law of thermodynamics. This is called the law of entropy, or the law of madness, or the law of disorder. You have very high level of disorder in the feedstock, in the entire system. There are too many challenges with respect to collection, transport, treatment, delivery. Then your money is stuck. Then there are many issues on the institutional side. So what to talk of, simple plant working consistently? It's not possible. So you have anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That's the Murphy's law. And that is why the slide in the beginning had too many reds out there. Waste to wealth is a difficult proposition in the context. Waste to wealth is actually waste of wealth. If you really want to look at it from a project investor point of view. Waste to energy is waste of energy. They are incidental. Don't expect that that itself will sustain my operations. And it requires considerable gate fee or tipping fee, as he mentioned. Look at this, on the right over there you have that feedstock with high entropy, and on this you have uniform feedstock with very low entropy. This can work very well, but that is far too challenging. Okay, and this is how they comply with the second law of thermodynamics by mass burn. And this is why I want to say that this is landfill. Those of you who have been using landfill for open dump, I'm sorry, that is not. This is landfill. All compaction, energy that has gone into compaction, covering, etc., and then that is giving me safeguard from public health, viruses and bacteria. I think, so this brings me to the end of my presentation. Show you a contrasting situation. In Surat, about 7 years back, they constructed it, landfill, but MSW rules did not allow disposal of mixed garbage into landfill. So what they were doing, they were disposing it openly, and the landfill was left unused. So every year it was getting damaged with monsoon. So I think there are issues with value addition. I mean, we have already spoken about intangibles are the primary output, and MSW rules require revision. Don't expect source segregation. That will never happen. For next 10 years, 15, 20 years, we cannot
20 seconds, please.
But it will not happen. Yeah, just the second last point. Allow organics to the landfill. Don't think that organics is an anathema for landfill. It has to be disposed. As Dr. Patrick said, landfill gas harvesting. That is possible when you are disposing organics into the landfill. And public health is most important against resource recovery. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nima. A very interesting insight in the challenges that the industry is facing. Mr. Nima was granted some more time because of the two speakers who have cancelled. However, in the meantime, those speakers were replaced by two new ones. That's why we have to exceed our time. I hope that's not a problem.